Thank you.
So again, thanks for coming out. My name's Dennis Baker. I'm the Life Raft Program Director. I'll let the next two gentlemen introduce themselves, so go ahead.
Hi, I'm Michael. How are you?
Oh.
That's your cue, Mark.
Is he frozen?
Yo, he's totally frozen.
Nice.
Technology's wonderful and magical. Oh, there he is.
Mark Montgomery.
Mark is chiming in from Vegas just because he wanted to have more fun than we are having. So, we're going to jump right into it, but first things we always like to do, is there anybody in the audience, cast and crew, that you want to acknowledge, because it takes a village?
Yeah, I got a couple of members of my kick-ass cast here. Paul Lang and Caitlin Norton, please stand up and take a bow. And the nosebleeds back there. Yeah, they're the only members of the cast that are LA-based. So, yeah, it's nice to be here with them, screening it for them.
Nice.
And I would like to acknowledge, the woman that birthed me. My mother is here, so please take a bow. She just saw my naked ass right there doing really horrible things, so respect.
That's an awkward dinner conversation for later. So the reason we do these feature films is for the filmmakers to share their process of making the film for audiences and actors in the room who are looking to make their own film. So we're going to jump right in, and the first thing you always start with script. How did the story come to be? How did the script come to be? Kind of talk about that process for you guys.
Yeah, Mark was working as a producer, in development for a producer. I was working as an actor and a writer, kind of pursuing both tracks at the same time and banging my head up against the wall in both respects. Dominic Tiefenthaler, who plays the DA, was also kind of frustrated, and the three of us sat down with another friend in a pub, had a couple of beers, and thought it'd be a good idea to kind of finally do what we've always wanted to do, which is just make our own project and create good work for ourselves. And the story came out of basically that round of drinks where, like, we knew Mark wanted to produce it, we knew I wanted to write the script and direct it, we knew I wanted to play a degenerate because I'm good at that for whatever reason. Dominic plays smug, arrogant prick pretty well, even though he's a real sweetheart. And, we knew Mark had the developmental expertise to kind of coax the script through the various stages of development and be the lead producer on the project. So it kind of came out of that. It kind of was like manufactured out of those parameters, out of the budgetary parameters, because we knew we wanted to have it at a certain level where we would have all the creative autonomy we wanted. So we had to keep the budget pretty small for that.
Yeah. And then talk about how long it took to write the script. What was that process like?
I wrote the first draft in 4 days, and I thought it was the perfect movie. I really did. I thought I did it. I'm like, Eureka, I've done it in 4 days. But someone...
Then I'll let Mark chime in.
Someone had other ideas. Oh, he's frozen. Maybe I'll just continue talking then, and we'll hear from Mark later, or maybe not at all. Oh, this is kind of cute. It's a nice image, at least.
Am I that frozen?
You're back. You're back.
Okay. It was one of those things that I wanted something very marketable. So we said 60-40 comedy or drama. You picked the larger percentage. And then Michael went and got creative, and life happens. And so 27 drafts later, we started to have that mixture of, we got many colors there. And it was that process that Michael had to go through to get the project that we eventually ended up with.
And how long did those 27 drafts? Over a year, 2 years?
Yeah, about a year and a half or so, yeah.
Yeah.
About half the time it took us to raise the money. Yeah.
Okay, so you were raising money during that whole time?
Yeah, trying to, in the middle of the financial collapse of 2008-9, which is the perfect time to get money for an indie film.
And it was one of those things that we had one investor who was going...
Oh. Baby, come back.
Then
you're like lost in the Matrix right now.
Say it again, the hotel internets. One more time. So you had one investor?
Was going to invest $20,000 to $40,000. By the end of the week, he came in for 10 just because he got, skinned alive in the market.
Wow.
And I had the investor who was going to come in for 50, and then after 3 months came in for 0. That was fun. That was a fun night. Yeah, a lot of tequila that night.
So through this process, Mark, are you building your producing team? Kind of talk about how was it that team came to be? Were you starting to build, you know, the crew? Was it like kind of talk about how that process kind of worked for you guys?
Again, the film that you see, Michael is in, you know, it's his blood, sweat, and tears. He is invested in every single level of that, and so, you know, it was our job to sit there and help raise the money. But with the crew and the staff that we put together, you know, I should be saying he put together, and that, you know, I was on his hip, and it was one of those things of he had a very specific vision in mind, and my goal was to get out of his way and to make sure that he had the support that he needed to do the project that he wanted to make. So and then early on, I told.
This is
you
good.
Finish this, yeah.
Yeah, I can finish his thought and correct him. Yeah, it was not like him getting out of my way. It was him keeping me on the right path and gently whipping me into submission. No, why he's laughing. No, but like really like telling me like, look, this is good. You can do better. Okay, this is a good idea if we had more money. We don't. So find a way to do it more economically. This is, you know, this character is interesting now. Make it better, make his relationship deeper. And throughout every step of the process, kind of being there, coaxing me into getting it better. And, you know, as when you're making your own work as an actor, making his first feature, you need that. You need that counterbalance, and you need that voice in your ear who's letting you know, like, stop, you know, I'm a fucking hot-headed dreamer, and you need a pragmatist. You know, you need someone whispering in your ear like you're not being realistic. It's inspiring what you're saying, but you're not living in reality. And Mark spends most of his time in reality, which is good, you know.
Someone's got it.
Someone's got it.
So then as a first-time director, how did you get that crew? Was it just a lot of friends of friends? How did you build that team?
Yeah, like the crew and the cast, like I knew that DP, I'd worked on like several shorts, god-awful shorts, but I saw him and he was like this young kid. I'm like, this guy's brilliant. He's got it. He knows what he's doing. The cast was basically everyone I'd met throughout 10 years of film school, acting classes, being on sets. So there were only 2 roles I had to cast that were not in my Rolodex, that were not personal friends, and like that's great. Like to have Paul Lang and just be like, hey, I got a role you're great for. To have like Kayla Norton be like, oh my God, you're perfect for his fucking wife, come on in. And to actually like audition them and be like, oh my God, they nailed it, it's theirs. And it was like that for the 2 leads, most of the supporting roles, and like there were only Christopher Shire and 1 other day player were the only ones that I actually auditioned for, and the child that I sadly cut out of the film. I know, it's sad. She's going to be okay. She's tough.
Did you write with them in mind, with the kind of Rolodex of actors and stuff, or that kind of naturally came to be after you wrote it, like, oh, I have an actor that fits this?
I wrote the role of the DA for Dominic because he was originally there. Paul came on a little bit later where I'd written it for someone else, but someone with similar kind of emotional proclivities. And when that person backed out, I was like, oh, we need someone. Paul. And it was really funny. Me and Paul had worked in acting class a lot together. And for whatever reason, we did 3 scenes in a row where Paul was emotionally abusing me. Like badly. Like it was like a scene in Closer where I was playing the Jude Law guy. It was like another scene where he was like, so this movie was like vengeance for me. This is like huge payback where I got to, you know, yeah, and he felt it. Yeah, he did.
So then as an actor, now on the other side of the table, auditioning actors, is there anything that you learned or would want to give advice to actors in the room of things you're like, okay, this is what I
put them on tape and just put them through everything, man. Like, go all the way with them. You gotta see if they can realize the scene. I mean, they're not going to get it 100%, but you got to see if they understand it. You got to see if they have the emotional capacity to eventually get there. On a first audition, no one's ever getting it, but like for the major roles, my auditions lasted an hour, and we got in there. We got, you know, really deeply and heavily into it. especially the sex scenes. But you got to know, you know. I'm kidding, of course, maybe. But no, you gotta put the actors through all the work and all the material and know that they know it and can get to it. Because when you got a small movie and no time, no budget, you don't have time to discover shit. You don't have time to hope they find it. You got to know. So
then on the other side of that, for the actors who are auditioning, your recommendation is for them to really bring their A game?
Bring it, man. Bring your A game.
What does that mean?
Know the character. Have ideas. Don't just show up and be like, so who's this girl? What's going on here exactly? Like auditions suck. But if you're serious about the work, it's your fucking chance, man. You got 30 seconds to 6 minutes to do your best work, to really, you know, knock someone on their ass. Bring your game, man. Don't approach it like it's an audition. That's your first fucking rehearsal, you know. And I want to work with actors who approach it like that, you know, who have that intensity and they want it that bad. They want to bring that character to life that bad. I don't have to direct you. You've done all your homework. You get it. Maybe I'll just nudge you a little bit here and there, you know. So,
how many did you have rehearsals? How many days did you shoot? What was that process like?
Yeah, we had the luxury of 3 weeks of rehearsals, which, you know, a lot of plays don't have. But again, not to echo myself, but we had no time, no budget. We knew when we got on set we had to nail that shit. And we had 2-3 takes for most of the stuff. A lot of it high-octane stuff, a lot of it really intense and quick, rapid back and forth. And we rehearsed it, we blocked it in rehearsal space because we saw the layout of the main set. And we got on set and we knew what we were doing, and the crew was like, wow, you guys are fucking ready. And it's like, yeah, we gotta be. And you know, we were fortunate enough to have that, and fortunate enough to have actors who I think they worked, you know, for a high five and a smile in those rehearsals to make sure that we had everything we needed and brought our A game to set. So
I'm gonna have you start, and then Mark, I'm gonna have you finish this question. Talk about locations, especially in indie film. Locations are huge. Did you write with locations in mind and ones that you could get for quote unquote free, or did you put Mark through his paces and had to find a lot of locations?
The first draft of the script was, I think, entirely in that house. And we knew we wanted to keep it around $100K of a budget. We knew we wanted to be character-based. We didn't have the luxury of having a lot of locations, car chases, any of that fun stuff. So we knew it was going to be predominantly one location. But as the drafts came along, we realized we had to make things more cinematic. And Mark, if you want to jump in here.
I think we were blessed by, you know, half dumb luck and half research, and that Michael found one location through a realtor, and it turned out like when we did our scout, that was exactly what was on the page.
Can you finish that story?
Yeah, yeah. Like we got to the house, we're like, holy shit, this is the house that we've been writing about. This is the house that the scenes are written for, and yeah, like I got tears in my eyes. I was like, this is it. Like this is the house living in my imagination for the last 2 years. And you know, the other locations. Sorry, go on.
Bobby Nico delivered New Jersey.
Yeah, you know, we had a great courthouse picked out that backed out 1 week into the shoot, and Robert Nicotra, one of the other producers on the film, had to scramble and found us an even better location for even cheaper. And that was where you see all the interiors that were shot in the beginning and the end of the film on the set, and it was gorgeous. It was so incredible. They had just done like a $5 million makeover on it, and it was just perfect. And you know, while I'm having aneurysms on set, you know, Mark and Robert were making it happen and doing all the other little things. You know, getting a helicopter that, you know, with the shady, here's a wad of cash under the table deal. Let's go up in 40-mile-an-hour winds and make some movies, and doing all those things to get us all those locations, to get us Hampton Jitney, to get us the rehab center. I mean, you know, Amy DeNaro, another one of our producers, helped us get a lot of stuff. And yeah, it takes an army of everyone hustling and overachieving to make anything even remotely like this happen. So
Talk a little bit about director and also being in it as an actor, those hats. How did that work for you? How did you manage that?
Well, I'm delightful to work with, so that helped. You know.
We'll get the other story from Paul afterwards.
Paul's not available for comment tonight, regretfully. Sorry, you can reach him through various social media. Not like it was a role that I knew I could deliver. Like I didn't write myself like the hunchback with the bilateral lisp because I don't know that guy. I've never done that guy. But this guy I knew I could do. And you know, when you write a draft 27 times and the first time you speak the words, like your homework's done. It's a thing that happens. It's not like when you're reading a script and you have to analyze it and kind of reflect on what every line means and what's he thinking here? What's he saying but really meaning? All the homework you do as an actor is kind of there in a very organic kind of way. And going through that process and then having 3 weeks of rehearsal and working with like awesome fucking people, man. Like, you know, me and Paul had that rapport. Me and Dominic had that rapport. We'd worked, you know, in sweaty classrooms for years, getting to know each other, getting to know each other's rhythms, and having a good rehearsal rapport where, you know, we had a shorthand and we knew how to communicate. We knew how to say, here's what's happening, here's what we need, here's what you're doing, here's what I'm doing, is it right, is it not, what do we need to do better, blah, blah, blah. And it was easy.
And then your relationship with Gus.
Relationship with Gus?
Gus, yeah, my DP. Like, I'd worked with him on a couple shorts, and yeah, there wasn't a lot of conjecture about stuff. There wasn't a lot of, debating and dialoguing about things. It's like, here's what I want. How's it look? Set it up. Looks good. Cool. We good? Let's go. You know, it was pretty smooth sailing, actually. Yeah.
Nice. Unforeseen incidences that happen. You talked a little bit about the courthouse was one of them. Can I give us a glimpse of the behind the scenes of things that we wouldn't know watching the final product?
Mark, day one. Tell us that fun one.
So I'm behind, Michael was in the scene, so I'm behind the camera trying to give a director's perspective, and all of a sudden we started hearing a call for my name over the walkie-talkie of, Mark, you need to come over here, it's an emergency. And I was like, no, my priority is behind the camera. And they eventually pry me out from behind it, and I'm walking across this mansion, and all I hear is running water. And I'm just like, who's the asshole that is running a tub while we have a live set? Like, why do you need to shower now? And then I walk out and I look in the garage, and it's just this waterfall. One of the pipes had frozen and burst, and it was, all right, we now need to find a way to shut off the water and call a plumber.
While continuing the shoot, yeah. And it was, $20 million house, so we were a little bit nervous about breaking it. Understandably so. Broke your house.
Any other of those examples of just things that we specific scenes you're like that you're like, oh, this scene, if you knew what we had to go through to get this scene?
We had, it's not a funny, wacky story like that, but we got the courthouse, replacement courthouse. We didn't have time to scout it, so we didn't know what we'd have access to, what we didn't. So we had a whole scene that took place in an office, and we scrambled around, and we didn't have access to an office, and we had it. It was a pretty long scene, so we actually had to chop up and rewrite the scene into various sections. So the scene where Evan and Dominic are walking and talking, which turned out to be an awesome Steadicam shot, and then they go into like this little nook in which is had a nice archway, like beautifully, like composition. Was a beautiful shot. That came out of what was originally an office, which would have been really boring as shit, actually, like two dudes in an office talking. But it turned out into this really kind of dynamic and visual shot. And that was something, just us scrambling. All right, what do we got? All right, we've got stairs, great. We've got, ooh, that looks pretty, this archway. Let's do something here. What if we do half here, and then I just, spend like 20 minutes tweaking the script, and we got some of the better interiors we have in the film.
Great. We'll do this, Mark. Hopefully you can keep it, we don't freeze you again. First-time producer, what advice would you give them?
Protect your investors.
It's only when he talks.
I know. It's like the internet knows.
It's fascinating.
So we'll pause.
I've done 1,000 Q&As with him. I know what he's going to... Are you back?
So protect your
investors. You can take it.
No, go.
Protect your investors in that we wanted a career in entertainment, not a one-off. And so we actually set the bar higher for ourselves, made it a little bit more difficult. So the people that were going to invest in this project knew that they weren't paying our rent. The money that they gave us went up on the
screen. And, you know, we made sure that we made the movie for no less than that amount that we thought we could get what we believe looks like $1 million movie. And we wanted that. We wanted our investors to see that because, yeah, we want to make a few more movies after this.
And then as a writer, first-time director and actor, how do you convince people to give you money and a producer to go on the journey with you?
Is that for me or you, Mike?
We'll start with Mike, and then we'll...
I'm verbalizing my response inside my head. It's honestly at this point now it's easier because I can be like, look, watch my movie, and this is what I did for a very little amount of money. Next time I want to do a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and I can do it bigger and better. Like this is what I did with very little for my first time out of the box. Hopefully people see that and they're like, oh, he didn't completely fuck it up, all right? It's kind of decent. Maybe he can do it again, another one that's pretty good. But in the beginning, it was like, oh, my pitch meetings were horrible. I prepared all these statistics of movie revenues and stuff, and you know, the first pitch meeting I had was after a really shitty round of golf, and so my confidence was really low. And it was just horrible. But now I can just be like, look, I've done it. I know how the industry works. I know how movie making happens. This is what I did my first time. Next time is going to be better. And hopefully they'll see that when they watch it.
I'm going to stay on Mike, and then I'll go to you, Mark. Advice for actors who also want to direct their film and be in it.
Yeah, do it. You know, do it. I've been a member of SAG for 15 years. And it's amazing to be screening it here. It's so great. It feels really fucking good. But ask me how much SAG work I've gotten in those 15 years. Ask me how many interesting roles I've tackled that were SAG sanctioned in those 15 years. Not a lot. If you're hustling, if you're grinding, the best chances you're going to get to do great, interesting work is creating that shit for yourself. Know yourself. Know what your wheelhouse is. Know where your talents are, where you excel, and then surround yourself with people that are going to make that happen, but realistic people. You know, I know where my shortcomings are, and that's why I have Mark in my life. I know what I'm good at. I know where I need help. That's why I surround myself with Paul Langs and Dominic Tiefenthalers and Caitlin Nortons. I know that you're only as good as the actors that you play with. So play tennis with the best players who are going to hit the ball back, and you're going to fucking smash it back, and it's going to be a great game. And get yourself out there, because 15 years, man, no agent, nobody knocking on my door, and I got some work I'm proud of. So
that's great. I want to, for the actors who are looking to create their own work, Mark, what's your advice for them to going to build their producing team? What would you tell them they need to bring to someone like you to go, okay, I have something, I want you to help me with it?
You know, look for that someone who's, you know, I think Michael nailed it, that's going to compliment you. You know, Michael has a overabundance of passion, you know, and help someone who's going to be able to, one, tap into that passion, but two, then be that bridge to connect you to someone who's a suit and tie. And that was one of the things that Michael and I did, I think, really well, was he was this artistic, creative path.
And he was the practical man.
Yeah, and he was, you know, I make this joke a lot, but like I was like the Democrat and he was a Republican. Yeah. I was like, spend liberal rights for everyone. And he's like, no, let's cut some of the fat here. Let's maybe restrict abortion for 6-year-olds. You know, like he was like the Republican conservative voice, where I was like, just let's do everything. You know, let's just let it all rip. And he also had the business acumen that I didn't have.
Yeah.
And that's important because when you're making a story, you're thinking creatively, but you need someone saying, okay, well, that arena shot in the football stadium costs a little money, so let's maybe replace that with you crying in a bathtub. You know, you need that. You know? That kind of stuff's important when you're making micro-budget movies.
I think that's a perfect place to end. Give them both a hand. Say thank you. Thank you all for coming out. Mike will be around to say hi and give him a hug and congrats. Please fill out those surveys. And thanks, Mark. Have a wonderful trip in Vegas.